This conversation may not be appropriate for a lot of people. In fact, a lot of people may just want to skedaddle out of this one right now. Aaron may want to feel like he wants to at this point too. This is not a light topic in any regards. Definitely not child safe. Definitely not. Today we're going to be talking about, and today's 1/29/2023 as we're recording this, we're going to be talking about that wonderful, I don't want to use the word wonderful at any time in this conversation at all.
No.
At all. We're going to be discussing the couple in Georgia, the Zulock couple, and what they did to their adopted children. And it is beyond horrifying what they did. Because on the surface, it's bad enough. And then to see what they did to these kids that are now 11 and 9 years old at this time is way, way worse. I almost feel bad playing the intro, but we need an intro.
I met Josh through Aaron, actually, because those two had been friends since, high school? Younger?
I mean,
middle school, I think. I think we originally met through church.
well, I say, yeah, we knew each other at church. I mean, since kindergarten,
Yes,
for
yes,
sure. 'Cause,
yes.
well, you went to school with me in kindergarten,
Mm-hmm.
then left. Like, I don't know, man. You just left.
I left. I just
You packed your bags and went
I
on a
just
journey.
Yeah,
Thought you were Bilbo Baggins.
thought you spot the height.
It is a dreary January day out today. It started out real sunny today.
It was, and I
It's-
need my glasses for a bit of it.
I know. It started out great sun. As I was leaving church this morning, I was talking with Jonah, and I was like, man, it is bright out. I wish I had my sunglasses charged up. That's weird.
Charged up.
I know. I have to charge my sunglasses in order for them to work. But now it's not so much pure sunny. It's not like it's like overcast and snowing again, thankfully.
Yeah.
But
Oof.
it kind of feels appropriate based on what we're talking about today. So for those of you who maybe aren't aware, August 2022 is when this story originally broke, where the Zachary Zulock, I might be mispronouncing the last name incorrectly. It's spelled Zulock. That's Zulock to me.
Zulock.
Yeah, whatever. Zachary Zulock and his husband, William Zulock, were arrested in August 2022. The arrest charges and claims that the couple were abusing their two adopted sons, molesting their two adopted sons specifically. It goes on to say that they were also accused of using their kids, their sons, to record child porn. Where it gets more disturbing, they also allegedly pimped them out to members of a local pedophile ring. These kids are 11 and 9 years old. It is sickening to even think that is something that goes through people's heads.
When did they? I say, and I didn't read enough to know this, but how long had they had the kids while this was going on? Like, had they had them for quite some time, as in like years, or was this a recent adoption and they just started doing that right away? If it says anything in that.
So I'd have to pull back in the article
Yeah.
where it talks about the timeline of when they got adopted. Okay.
Okay.
The two men themselves only married back in 2017.
Okay.
Okay. And then they in 2018, so they adopted them in 2018. And the two kids are brothers.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew that or not. And they did adopt them through an adoption agency called All God's Children, Inc.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I would imagine that's supposedly supposed to be like a Christian.
Right. It's now a now defunct private special needs adoption agency.
Okay.
So defunct, mean no longer business.
Yeah.
And it was supposedly a Christian-based adoption agency. Now,
Okay.
there you can have the conversation, okay, about this, about, should a Christian agency be involved in adopting to same-sex couples or not?
Right.
That's a whole other conversation beyond this, okay?
Well, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I this is why I say that, because regardless of if they did or didn't adopt to same-sex couples, there are, unfortunately, let's be honest here, straight couples where this might have happened too,
Oh,
unfortunately, right?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get that out of the way,
Yeah.
and also, and I think you even said this in the Crowder one. Not all people
No.
that are in a same-sex relationship or
No.
something like that are going to do this.
No.
Someone that is of this bent, being gay or whatnot, is not automatically a pedophile.
No. Well, no. I'm not even
Yeah.
saying that.
I know, but
But-
I am explicitly stating it
Yeah.
so that no
okay.
one tries to say, well, they didn't say this way or this way, so therefore it can mean this.
Yeah. But I guess what I do find, so if they were a Christian, whatever, I don't know, organization, whatever, at the time, can they not deny a couple that's homosexual the kids?
It depends on the state. Some states can, some states
Okay.
can't.
Oh,
So
okay.
so it's that's why I said it. That's why of all the things in this,
Yeah.
because I have heard some people go, well, they're a Christian organization. How could they do this?
Right.
Of all the things, that's probably the most innocuous of this.
Yeah.
Of this scenario. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably the least impactful of this, unfortunately. Because let's be honest, if it wasn't through them, another agency,
I mean, it would
they
happen
could,
through another one.
they could have been through another agency.
I just find it weird why they. I don't know what other places that are there by them that have adoption for kids or not. But if they went out of the way to pick that one out, I'd be a little bit suspicious as why. But
Remember, so these kids were adopted in 2018.
Yeah. Yep.
They're 9 and 11 now.
Yep.
So how old would they have been when they were adopted?
we said 18.
2018.
Wow, that's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's gross.
So how old?
What? 4 and 6.
Yeah. So, the allegation doesn't say necessarily, when the abuse started per
No,
se, but
yeah.
it does say that it was going on and it was quite bad. So there's multiple people, surprisingly, that wrote about this, but a lot of these people didn't write about this thing until after townhall.com wrote a 4-piece article on this.
Hmm.
Like it's a lot of reading. I sent
Yeah.
you the link and you thought it was like multiple videos. No, it was
No.
a little video intro and a lot of reading.
A lot of reading, yeah.
This one is definitely not for younger to listen to because, oh boy.
No, they should be taught how to somehow avoid this, though.
Yes,
If you
and
can.
that's where parents come in that,
Uh-huh.
right?
Oh yeah.
But that's why I said this is where it happened. So they were arrested in August 2022. Like I said, they were arrested on charges of incest, aggravated sodomy, aggravated child molestation, felony sexual exploitation of children, and felony prostitution of a minor. So if they get those, hopefully that's life in jail. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I kind of land on this weird thing with death penalty, but
Hmm.
that might qualify for me.
Yeah.
As yes, death penalty if found guilty. If found
Hmm.
guilty. That being
Well-
said, there's a lot of evidence against them, unfortunately,
Right.
for them. So the way they were caught is one of the informants, 27-year-old, told investigators that Zachary invited him multiple times to take part in sexually abusing the boys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how this whole kind of got caught. Lawless also claimed that Zachary sent him multiple messages on Snapchat, including one that allegedly read, "I'm going to
Oh,
F my son tonight, stand by," along with the image of himself sexually abusing the 11-year-old.
ugh,
That is just on every level disgusting and wrong.
yeah.
Why are you just like giving this look of like,
It is. It is extremely disgusting, and I don't know. In one part of the video, from what I remember, was one of the guys was. I mean, he was obviously getting like choked up or something, and he was. It was kind of starting to get hard to understand him a little bit. Like
Mhm.
I just one thing that stuck out. One thing that stuck out to me was he was saying that he just needs somebody that doesn't hate them right now. And I'm like, man,
right. And that was him talking to one of his family members.
yeah,
So they are right now in jail,
hmm
awaiting trial and everything. And they're actually being held in separate jails, so they can't communicate with one another.
that's good.
The reason being because they're both on trial.
Yeah, right.
So there's some interest there. I did make sure I was just reading through here. If convicted, they're each looking at 9 consecutive life sentences
Goodbye.
based on those charges.
Yeah,
So it's not just that it was bad; it was really,
it was
really bad.
really bad. I guess I'm trying to think of what is it about? Well, I guess obviously one it has to do with kids, and that's just super screwed up,
Right.
just altogether. But something about like the whole, um, just like sexual crimes and stuff is taken very seriously. I always I've wondered as to why it's such an impactful thing. Because that's another thing. As I mean, these kids are probably getting probably don't even need to say probably are just going to be really screwed up for a lifetime now, or a big portion of it, I'd imagine. Because thankfully, I have never suffered from any sort of sexual abuse or anything like that. So I
Mhm.
can't put my place in someone's shoes that has been and trying to imagine what that's like. But from the sounds of it, that is probably one of the most scarring things someone can go through.
Yeah, and especially at that
That
young of
age.
an age, and that is going to be, unfortunately, something that those kids are going to have to live with for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna be in therapy and be seeking assistance as far as, like, mental health assistance and everything going on in that for everything. So, you're aware that the arrest happened. Do you know how it happened by chance?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, this was all taking back place in 2022, so last year, okay?
Mm-hmm.
On the night of July 27th, authorities in Georgia executed a search warrant around 11:30 PM, just hours after receiving information that there were children in harm's way at the home of Dale
Mm-hmm.
Zulock Jr. and Zachary Jacoby Zulock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What had happened is that earlier in the evening, detectives in the Criminal Investigation Division raided a house somewhere else after the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force was tipped off that a man was downloading child porn. So
Hmm.
they went investigated that person. They then learned during the interview with this individual, they didn't name him this time in the article, that there was another suspect in the county who was producing homemade child sexual abuse material with at least one adopted child who lived in the home with the perpetrator. They then obtained some evidence. They corroborated this statement, and then they found evidence during the nighttime search and rescue effort that the adoptive fathers of the sibling pair residing in the home were engaging in sexual abusive activities and video documenting this abuse.
Mm.
That is just sick. Okay.
Why do you?
Now, the part that I think makes it worse for me as I read through this, okay, not that same sex parents, okay, not that and all that. The fact that those poor kids were abused, that was bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The fact that they were pimped out, that was even worse. That just made me sick. Um, if you are interested, go to townhall.com and look for it. These series of articles. However, be aware if you choose to read the affidavits, there's some information in there that once you read it, you're never going to be able to go back. Let me put it that way. So I'm assuming you haven't read any of those, Mr.
No,
Johnson.
I don't know. I might at some point.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I wish I did before this. I didn't even think about that. But the only one of the things that, like, I don't know, just has been on my mind during when I first like looked into this. The thing that I guess sucks is, to one degree, obviously it's not surprising
Mm-hmm.
by any means. And it's the fact of knowing that there is far worse out there, and it's just gonna keep getting worse.
Right.
That's one of the main things that's been on my mind ever since like reading this, and it's just like, man, ugh, I don't even want to know how bad it is.
Remember before when we talked about how Apple wanted to do some, and people were furious about, scanning of, and maybe I'll use this terminology for the rest of this episode. CSAM, remember CSAM? Child sexual abuse material.
Okay, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Remember how people were all upset Apple wanted to scan it, blah, 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 and all that? Well, guess how this guy was found out?
Through that,
It wasn't through that. It was through someone tipping off the authorities about this person being the original tipster,
mm-hmm.
that this person was uploading CSAM to his Google account. And then, so he uploaded to his his Gmail drive,
Yeah,
his
How-
Google Drive. Okay. Well, guess what? Because of that, they were able to quickly identify that, yeah, it was CSAM. And that was from December 9th, 2021. Obviously it's not going back. If I sound like I'm trying to say things in a more friendly way than what is written in the article at times.
Okay. I guess as far as what, just like language goes, or
Based on some of the
happening.
Based on some of the stuff that's happening in the photo. Okay.
I
So
guess
they got the tip and everything, right? And they said that they were able to, once they identified that it was CSAM, they were able to validate that it showed a prepubescent child being forced to perform oral sodomy on an adult male. The victim's age was ascertained based on the physical size relative to the male's penis and facial features. That's how they were able to ascertain how old this person was.
Yeah.
This victim
Yeah.
was. Let's put it that way. They were a victim.
Yeah.
So remember how before in the original article from August, they didn't want to say who it was. It was that lawless guy that I mentioned earlier. This was the guy that had uploaded that to his Google Drive. And then that's how they then caught these.
I mean, what an idiot, but I'm thankful he's an idiot.
Yeah. It says during a Mirandaized audio video interview, Lawless admitted that he both knew the sexually abused child was approximately 10 years of age, as well as his legal name. And again, they have these affidavits where you can read them online if you so choose. Just, I'm going to urge you to take caution here, because this is not something that everyone can just go read and be fine after reading. It will do something to you, just because it's not for the faint of heart. Let me put it that way.
Right.
Okay. Lawless allegedly met Zachary through a mutual contact named Blake, and Blake's in quotes, on Grindr. You probably have no idea what that is, do you?
Well, Grindr's it's a same sex like dating site, isn't it?
And it's not a
Or for a hookup.
hookup app. Yeah.
No, I shouldn't. Yeah, not dating, but a
hookup
let's
app.
meet up.
Yeah, okay. So you do know what it is.
Yes.
Congratulations. I'm surprised. So Lawless met Zachary through mutual contact Blake on Grindr and received numerous Snapchat messages from Zachary saying, and that's why I said, I'm going to F my son tonight, and to stand by for graphic visuals of the father. It says father raping his child. That's a direct quote from this article. Zachary also invited Lawless multiple times to engage in activities with him and his 2 adopted kids, but Lawless denied ever having any physical contact with the boys. Yeah, that tells you how demented and down the hole this whole thing goes.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not even at the worst part of what I think this is yet.
Okay.
And here's why I say that. Well, we'll get there in a minute. Okay. So again, obviously they keep on going down through this process of finding out this information on how this is happening. And again, the two uh, adoptive parents, are now in jail in federal custody awaiting their trial, and we'll see what happens. But here's what I think is probably the worst part about this. Okay. I'm just going to read you the headline from part 3 from Town Hall's article list. How did an accused child rapist adopt 2 children?
That is a wonderful question.
Yeah. So 7 years prior to the
Oh.
adoption, Zachary was accused of being a child rapist, but was never charged. So he was accused, but never charged.
Yeah.
So more than a decade ago, there was a 2011 probe into Zachary's alleged pedophilic behavior when he was accused of luring a 14-year-old boy to a residence in Walton County, Georgia, which is in the same jurisdiction as the case that's happening now, and had sex with an underage victim. But the 2011 child rape case was shut down and no charges were pursued against Zachary.
Does it say why?
Just says it was closed without a lot of investigation into it, according to the Walton County Sheriff's Office. It has now since been reopened, is being looked into.
It's too late now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Something that happened in 2011 could have
Prevented
to
this.
stop this, the horribleness of these 2 boys that are now going to have to live with this for the rest of their lives. I'm speechless on this, on why this was allowed to happen, on why this continues to happen, and why this.
Well, continues to happen. I'm not speechless on. I guess, I'm not even surprised on why or how it can still happen.
Why is that?
The world's evil. There's evil out there.
Okay.
It's always going to be happening. And it's going to continue on and on and on and on. And, the whole MAP thing, the minor attractive persons thing, that's going to become normalized. So some of this stuff won't even matter at some point.
I think it will still matter for those who have morals and those who have
Well,
convictions.
correct. Yes. For those people. But as a whole,
So you're saying for society as a whole, it won't matter as much.
no, it's going to matter more on certain individuals. Definitely I would hope the Christian community and other religious communities as well. That'll be something that now, of course, and it's not just Catholics, but obviously that's sort of the whole thing where it's like the priest and the little altar boys kind of thing. Where
Right.
stuff has happened in the past. If it happens in the church, it's going to happen everywhere.
Well, to be fair, the church is full of humans that are fallen.
Well, that's
and
what the
have
world is.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the church is still filled
Yeah.
with fallen people.
Right.
So we're going to expect to see it. Now,
Yeah.
where
Well, then
I
why
get,
wouldn't we see that everywhere else, though?
yeah, I guess where I'm a little more, I guess, pessimistic than you in this regards.
Pessimistic or optimistic?
Pessimistic.
You're more negative.
Where I'm more negative on this than you are in some regards
Okay.
is the fact that now you said how society as a whole, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, what I'm seeing at the same time in certain, not all, certain segments of the church, Big C church.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the global church. I'm not saying a specific church building.
Yes.
Is that they are willing to take on anything that society says is good and say it is good and holy. For example,
Wait, okay.
wait, why are you going? Wait,
I guess I'm confused as to I guess you're being more negative on it.
here's why. Okay,
Okay.
Let me get through it, and I'll tell you why I'm more negative
Yeah.
on this. Because the church is failing. Again, I said the Big C church. The church is failing to take a stand about what is right and what is wrong anymore, and willing to go along with what the world is saying is right, according, and the church bends over backwards to make it seem right in the Bible. Not all churches, again, there are some churches that do that. I can think of a couple off the top of my head where they're unfortunately people that I know that I went to school with that are now like pastoral over them,
Right.
where they, so that's why I'm more pessimistic about it, Because if the church as a whole was saying, no, this is wrong, whatever that topic may be, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about this specifically, okay?
Right.
I'm talking whatever the topic may be, gay marriage, whatever. If the church as a whole would stand up in unity and say, this is wrong, then I'd have some hope there. But the fact that we are so fractured,
Oh, well,
even on
yeah.
that, and we have churches that are saying this is good, obviously not this, but
No.
yet. But
Well, yeah, that's
but
what I'm saying.
there are churches that are saying these other things,
Yeah.
which are against the Bible,
Yeah.
are good and holy and must be celebrated and must be encouraged. That is what has me pessimistic, because it's only a hop, skip, and a jump until they're saying,
Yeah.
well, MAP's accepted too.
Oh, that's what I was saying.
I know, but I'm still more pessimistic than you, because unfortunately, I think it's going to happen faster than any of us think it's going to happen.
Oh, that doesn't make it more negative.
Okay.
Oh,
For me, it seems more negative.
I was like, wait, but I'm literally saying this is what's gonna happen. So I was
Yeah.
like, how are you more negative? Okay. I was
'Cause-
just getting a little lost there. I was like, I literally was just saying that what's wrong is gonna
No,
become right.
we're
And-
both agreeing on the same.
Okay.
We're both agreeing on the same premise.
You just think it's gonna happen faster
I
than probably
unfortunately,
what people think it will.
yeah, unfortunately, and it's
Oh.
going to become way more accepted. And the problem is now that people are
Yeah.
going to see that, and they're going to say now it is okay because the church says it's okay. Look what just happened.
Oh yeah, you get people that. Yeah, that's why you can't move an inch, because you give them an inch and it's gonna be a lot farther than that as time goes on. So I mean, yeah. So that's why that's what none of this is surprising. Yeah, it is just gonna get worse, unfortunately.
And the thing is, we've talked about this concept that sin thrives in darkness, and
Mhm.
it is so easy nowadays to find ways to hide in the dark these things.
Mhm.
And I don't know how it gets better. I really don't.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't here, and that's. This would go off in a whole other not tangenty stuff, but random like side stuff where it's like this is also why I want to start getting together again
Mhm.
more often as a church, like Christian group of friends, because and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, the end times are near, and we're always getting closer technically. So yeah, obviously people have thought that in the past where it's like, oh, it could be any time now, which it can be any time. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I know there's obviously from the Revelation study, there's that whole peace treaty thing that's supposed to happen with like Israel and whatnot. Before that's like, oh, we're here kind of thing. But it's now, I guess there is no better time than now, as far as like Christians to really get it together and go and do what we were called to do as Christians, to spread the gospel and whatnot. And it doesn't have to be the same way for all of us. We all have our, special calling, as long as hopefully we're in doing our due diligence as far as like spending time in the Word, reading, learning about God, and
Mhm.
And have His Spirit within us that is guiding us on where we're supposed to go. And hopefully we are listening to the Spirit and being obedient in that form, which is very difficult to do. And yeah, if the church could actually come together and not budge on stuff like this, you'd hope, maybe some things can get better to some regard. And it's one of those things where it's if you can, and technically it's not you, but like save a life or, kind of thing, just one,
Mhm. Right.
if we were to get serious on doing what's right, things could be better or could get better to some degree. Like, it's unfortunate to see that it is just going to get worse. And it's already horrible now because, we don't know everything that's going on. We don't know the extent of all this stuff is happening.
Right.
I guess if I were to somehow ever come into a situation where I think there's any sort of like child trafficking going on or some sort of sexual abuse done to children, well, any abuse really in that regards, and being pimped out to whoever, I would hope that people would act on it and like go at it completely to try and stop this, and not to be like, "Oh no, that's so sad," and maybe tell somebody and just not do anything about it. Like, I don't really have much hope for that either, though, because I remember hearing about the whole. I don't remember, yeah, where it was, but someone was being raped on public transportation and nobody did anything.
Mhm.
Like it. Whoa. Yeah, that gets the blood boiling.
Yeah,
We just don't care. We're so self-absorbed about ourselves. We want to make sure we're okay and we're all nice and cushy and comfortable. Where we'll let somebody else's discomfort and pain, suffering, continue.
yeah,
Not everyone. I just wish there's more people that want to do something about it.
right.
And I guess it's to some degree it's hard to find out where do you start? What do you do? I guess I imagine if you have some sort of inkling of information that could lead to some of that, report it to somebody.
You know, the old saying, if you see something, say something. You
Mhm.
definitely do that.
Yeah.
Even if and I hate to say this, but the fact is that it is so bad in society. Even if someone's like, "Ah, I'm just joking." Be like, "No, I can't take that as a joke."
Yeah.
There are certain things you can joke about. There are certain things you can't joke about. This exploiting a minor, a child, is definitely on that list of things you cannot even begin to joke about.
I can't remember who I was hearing saying it, but like for as far as like comedy goes, like a lot of comedy is based on truth to some regard,
Right.
where they'll I guess I'll always love the whole Ricky Gervais hosting the whatever Golden Globes or whatever it was. But where he like cracks jokes at Apple and these big companies running their little sweatshops or whatever in China and making jokes like that. Like if that's true and that's comedy, it's like I said, if someone were to make a joke, very it is a nasty joke. But if it's true, then okay, I suppose. As long as somebody whoever's doing whatever it is that's illegal gets busted for it. But as far as just to like make light of it and joke about it, yeah, it's not something to be made light of.
No, especially something like this. Like there's things that you can make jokes of, like we said, like him making fun Ricky Gervais, Apple, and
Yeah.
all that. And there's also a difference here.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a professional comedian making, I'm thinking like Landau or something like that, making a joke,
Right.
on a stage, like you said, there's probably some truth behind it. Something
Yeah.
probably messed up happened. Okay.
Right.
But what I'm saying more along the lines of,
Just randomly cracking jokes about.
if me and you are hanging out and someone else is with us, random person, I'm not going to even say a name because I don't even want to insinuate anyone.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they say something off kilter like that, I'd be like, hold up.
Like,
No,
not funny.
not even not funny.
It's-
It's to the point of like, if I know they're around kids, it's like, do I even at that point? It's like I almost feel like
yeah.
I have to be like, hey,
somewhat of
guess
a
what?
red flag.
Well, not even a red flag. Be like, hey, law enforcement,
Mm.
maybe check up on this person. and I hate that we're at that
Yeah.
point in society.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know people go, "Oh, as a Christian, you're not supposed to use the word." No, I hate that with a
No,
burning
yeah.
passion. With a
There's
burning,
nothing wrong with that.
with a burning passion.
Yeah. Say it's
Because we're not even in a society anymore where those who are supposed to be innocent, our children, can be safe anymore.
no. Yeah.
That assumption of innocence is gone. Like we talked before. Look, a child first sees pornography around the age of 9 now.
In that was it the Jubilee video with the teens being honest?
Yeah.
Talking about, well, obviously several of them had mentioned being addicted to pornography and started getting into the whole like dopamine effect it has on you and just the chemical effect and whatnot in the brain and all this other stuff. And it's for one guy who was saying it gets to a point where you start getting into weird territories of porn you never would have originally thought you were going to get into. Like he was getting into trans was I don't know, was it trans and non-binary or whatever porn and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning is like that was something he never probably would ever have gotten into, but because he got so bored with everything else,
He needed that new rush, that new adrenaline, that new dopamine hit.
new shock factor. And I mean, I guess I can only imagine that that's for these people that are doing these things to kids is mainly as they've been experimenting with so much throughout the years growing up where it's like that kid is the next thing on their list to get a hold of to start, I guess, yeah, getting that rush, that reaction again.
Mm-hmm.
And just another reason why it would be really great to crack down on the porn industry but it's never gonna
No, because
it's never gonna stop. We're way too far gone into it.
unfortunately, and we
Yeah.
have things like Signal, like Snapchat, like Crypt
Oh,
Chat,
yeah.
all those things. Well, here's the thing. So,
Yeah.
like, okay, so Snapchat, right? Guess what? Snapchat, they can go find that on their servers anytime they want. Okay, it's not encrypted. I'm sorry. You think it's disappearing? It's not disappearing. It
It's
is
out
available
there somewhere.
It is available 24/7, 365 to the proper authorities and the proper servers.
Yeah.
That being said, there's other things that, and I hate the fact that that's out there. And I'm torn because I love the fact that it's encrypted. It's pure encrypted. I also hate the fact that it's pure encrypted because no one could ever retrieve the data.
Hmm.
For example, Signal. Are you familiar with Signal? Okay. Signal is a text messaging app. Anyone can use it. It's just tied to your phone number, but it's end-to-end pure encrypted. Okay. Guess what? If they would have used Signal, no one would ever have been able to recover any of that data. If they would have used Crypt Chat, do you know what that is?
No.
Crypt Chat is a 3-way encrypted chat that's available on the web. It stores no data on any servers anywhere, and everything's triple encrypted with a password that you choose. Guess what? Since nothing stores anything, not the browsers don't store anything, the servers don't store anything, guess what? You're never going to be able to see anything that's said there.
Wow.
I love it from a freedom perspective. I hate it from perspective where it can be abused.
Right. So at that point, it's even worth keeping. Or should it be kept?
But then I look at, like, we deploy that to somewhere like someone in China or something like that, where then they can get stuff that's unfiltered that bypasses because it is through an encrypted network.
Right.
That's what I said. I love it and I hate it all at the same time.
With the good comes the bad.
And I hate that work in tech and know all these things. And I'm just like, it blows my mind that someone could adopt kids, say they're going to love them, and then they do this messed up crap to them.
Yeah. Well, it's obvious that they never actually loved them.
In the proper definition of love.
Correct. Yeah, and now that kid is never gonna.
Those
I
kids.
shouldn't say never, but it's going to be extremely hard, I would imagine, for them to relearn a lot of things. And one, obviously have trust for people. Because, hot dang, I don't know if I would really have any trust for anybody after something like that for quite some time.
And I wouldn't blame them at all.
No. Oh, no. I mean, I have trust issues now. So it's like, I haven't experienced anything that tragic. So it's like, you would have to go through a lot with somebody to finally develop a trust for someone, I'd imagine.
And I think you even mentioned this, and I think it needs reiteration again. You mentioned this in the Crowder Daily Wire thing.
Oh, how this is not an exclusive thing with homosexual couples or same sex.
Yeah, and you've said that earlier, but I think it's
No,
worth
yeah.
repeating because that's a thing also on the same side. You can swing the pendulum so far to
Mhm.
one side where you could say all gays are like this.
No,
All same
yeah.
sex couples are like this. All lesbians are like this. You know, you see that. I going back to Crowder a little bit. Crowder even jokes about that a little bit.
Yeah, some and it yeah, I've seen some things. I knew I saw one or two things from him sorta recently on Twitter that I was just like, "Come on." But yeah, and I'd seen another one or two, I think, YouTube channels, conservative channels talking about the situation. And I mean, I guess in their defense, I didn't end up even finishing the episode because I was getting so irritated with how they were just going off on. I mean, basically, it's seeming like this is happening because it's a same-sex marriage couple kind of thing. And I was just like, I didn't even want to finish listening to it because I was like, this is wrong. I was like, no,
Right.
it's not an exclusive uh thing for them to do. Where what was it? There was a story that came out where I mean, this dude was putting his sperm in cupcakes that were
I
given
missed
to
this one.
kids.
I missed this one.
But then it was a teacher and I
Oh,
thought it was
wait.
the cop duo
Oh wait, nope. I now remember. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
that were messing around with kids. So it is very much this is the thing. I mean, it's evil. Everybody's capable of it.
Mhm.
It just uh, it's no act is exclusive to any certain type of person.
Right.
Anybody can do anything
And
to some degree.
yep, and a person of, you know, one I guess you could say persuasion or the other, right? That doesn't
Mhm.
make him more inclined to do one thing over the other.
No.
So, yeah, you're right on that one. So, the one thing and I had been looking for it, I had seen it in an article before, but Town Hall didn't have it.
Mhm.
So, this article does have some data on what they all sent out. Evidence presented to the court included more than 100 photographs of child abuse, recordings of phone calls with members of pedophile gangs, and forensic reports documenting child abuse. They say that the abuse had been going on for approximately 4 years, and they've connected with the prostitution gangs in the Atlanta area via popular social media platforms.
Way to go.
So 4 years, that would have made them 5 and 7
Mhm.
when this started, about a year after they're adopted.
Yeah. So much for I'm real glad the social media people can be prioritized on looking out for misinformation instead of any kind of leads on stuff like this. Glad that's a priority.
By the way, just the responses to these articles, some of these people are just I don't get them.
As far as like what, just being okay with it or
I'll read this one.
okay.
And this comment came in just 5 days ago, January 24th, 2023. These guys are not gay. The biggest pedophiles in history is the church. Every day, a new preacher or church member is being charged with sexual misconduct of a child. Churches pay insurance companies for protection of finances if they get caught molesting the children. Gays do not want your ugly kids. Those are pedophiles. They'll do anything not to admit you are gay. I don't understand that comment at all.
No.
Exactly. The look on your face just tells me everything. I'm like, "Uh, what is this person smoking to even say that comment?"
So are they trying to exclude, I guess, gay couples from being guilty of such a crime?
I don't know.
Like,
I honestly don't know. And
or is that them just trying to be like, oh well, the church does it and bash the church? Because
it's deflecting. It's trying to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, look, this happens in the church too," and that. And
Yeah.
like I said, unfortunately, that is the case, and unfortunately, I'm seeing that
yeah,
more and more of
I mean,
these things.
part of me wants to say no dip Sherlock to that person. It's like read a Bible, why don't you?
Mhm. So
You'll learn pretty quick. Hopefully, I don't. Well, maybe not pretty quick. I don't know. Depends on how quick and where you read. But it's everybody is subject to doing wrong.
yes, I'm not against that statement at all. I think it's a fair statement. I just
Honestly, it's just sick of what some people do.
yeah. I honestly at this point, remember we talked about like black pilled, white pilled, red pilled, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Every time I see stuff like this, I get more and more black pilled
Mm.
because it makes me have less and less hope for society and humanity as a whole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, which I guess, yeah, what you can have hope in that to some degree, but I mean, to some degree, I'm thankful that's not the only hope
Right.
there is. But I guess, yeah, it's good to have some sort of hope to make a change and hopefully see a
Yeah.
good change happen. But I mean, yeah, as time goes on, it's like, I mean, we know where things are headed.
I know. And
So it's tough because it's like, yeah, how do you have hope in any good happening when we know it's just supposed to get worse? What is it? I guess there's hope to see others, and again, this is strictly coming from Christian perspective.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's obviously the hope of seeing more come to Christ and being able to share in the eternity that is yet to come.
Anytime something like this happens, I find myself more and more black pilled every
Yeah.
time. It,
Mhm.
it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a flip side to this that you didn't let me get to before you started going off on your thing, which is fine.
You're
which
so
is fine.
pessimistic, Paul. I just had
I
to
know.
do something.
I know.
else.
I know. But at the same time, as that black pill happens more and more, and do you remember what it means to be black pilled?
I mean, not really. I guess I'm understanding it right now is it'd be just, I guess it's literally just kind of like losing hope in a sense.
Yeah. So black pill,
Black Phil.
black pill. It's a metaphorical term often used to describe a set of beliefs, often linked to nihilism, fatalism, defeatism, also described as doomers.
Mm.
Everything's doomed. Everything's
Yes.
Think-
Doom and gloom.
Yeah,
baby.
exactly. So again, like I said, every time something like this happens, I get more and more black pilled. But at the same time, I have to try to remember to flip the script on that.
Mhm.
That if I want to see anything good happening, and if I want to see any hope, obviously outside of what the hope of Christ gives for me and for the world, that I have to remember,
Mhm. Right.
I have to do something about this too. I can't
Mhm.
just sit here on the sideline and do nothing. I have to do something to try to bring any little freaking piece of light out there,
Yeah.
whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'm going to keep myself from going crazy and down the black pill path.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I got to do.
Mhm.
How that looks, I don't know. But all I can say in this case, in this case with this Georgia thing, how do I bring light to it? By freaking exposing it as much as possible. Saying, people, look at the crazy that's going on. I don't care if you're straight, gay, bi, non-binary, Jehovah's Witness. I don't care what you are. Okay.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Just
Look at what evil does to us in the world. And then at
Yeah.
the same time,
Yeah.
what are we doing to make sure this doesn't happen again to other children that are adopted?
yeah, got to make some more.
Why was that case closed and not investigated fully in 2011?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at go into like the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff,
Yeah.
and granted that was also I guess if was there a couple? Was there like there's a documentary, and then there's obviously the Netflix like special of it kind of thing.
Mhm.
Which was that wasn't anyway. But there was the time where, I mean, he had that kid he had drugged up, and he was doing stuff with it, and he was gone wherever. The kid got out somehow, and the cops in there just dismissed it because, I mean, at that time, like the whole like gay thing was just like, oh, I ain't messing around with that. That's
Right.
their thing. They do it. And the fact that they just were so dismissive about it and just let it go and didn't do their job and listen to this lady that clearly knew something was up.
Right.
That's how this happens, is people don't do their job and show neglect.
I want to make something very clear here.
Uh-oh.
I am a supporter of police.
Mhm.
I'm not one of those guys that runs around with the thin
Defund
blue.
the police, man.
No. I'm saying I'm not one of those guys that runs around with like a thin blue line shirt or anything like that. I don't wear one of those.
Yeah.
I can have thin blue line in my heart. I don't care. Okay?
Yeah.
I support the police, right?
Yes.
But at
Yep.
the same time,
They have to do their job.
they have to be held accountable to this.
Yep.
And I'm all for police being accountable if they mess up. And when I say mess up, that's either don't investigate something they should investigate, or if they unjustly overuse force.
Which
And-
was
and
the
what-
case recently.
Yeah. And I say unjustly overuse force because that has to be investigated. Unjust force can be determined, a lot of times it's going to come out in the news, it's going to be bombastic and it'd be like, but it needs to be investigated and determined, was it unjust or not?
Mhm.
And if after investigations like, oh, that was unjust force, then hold the person accountable. That
Yeah.
I am perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. I liked.
And the reason I say that in the Jeffrey Dahmer case,
Mhm.
in this 2011 case, obviously the Jeffrey Dahmer one, those police are probably retired at this point, but whoever was around for that 2011 case needs to be held accountable. Why did they close the case?
Mhm.
Why did they not investigate it fully? It is amazing to me how the trajectory of two kids has changed completely because of one department. I don't know if it's one person that closed the case or not. So one department that investigated or was supposed to investigate.
Mhm.
Can't allow that to continue to happen. We need to hold those, and this is not just true of police. This is true of all government officials and everything.
Uh-huh.
And I'm even talking about Pelosi and her mysteriously trading stocks right before companies announce big losses.
Oh, that kind of crap.
All of that. Companies, politicians, and those in power, those who have authority over us, be they police, government, blah, blah, blah. They need to be 100% held accountable to everything.
Yeah, I did. As the well-known, I'm pretty sure it was Hillary Clinton. I had seen a snippet of her saying, "No one is above the law."
Unless your name's a Clinton.
Uh-huh. Yeah. If you actually mean those words, you should actually put that into, proper use.
Yes. And that means that if someone does something improper and charges are brought, they aren't just dismissed because, oh, you're friends with the mayor, blah, blah, blah.
No favors.
I'm done with seeing that
Yep.
because it leads to crap like this.
It shows you that you can get away with stuff, and it wasn't really that bad if they're just gonna let me walk.
I just need to be politically connected, and all of a sudden, oh, okay, this isn't an issue for me anymore.
Yeah.
Great. It's not an issue for you anymore. It's now an issue for all these other people.
Mm-hmm. If only you could see this happening in your own family. Which,
And I'll say this: if you, like I said, if you even suspect, especially if it's a family member, like, oh, Uncle blah blah blah, he wouldn't do anything, but he's acting really weird. He's saying weird comments and that.
you almost can't. Yeah,
You can't
be too careful.
you
now.
can't let that go anymore, unfortunately. And you know what's the sad part? You know what's going to take? It's going to take over reporting and unfortunately, some innocent people getting caught in the crosshairs. And I say that knowing full well that could be real bad for people.
Innocent people getting caught in
Like,
crosshairs.
let's say someone hears you say something and they think, oh, Aaron's.
Oh,
you know.
this dude's suspect. You
Yeah.
need to check him out. What?
Yeah,
No?
exactly. And I say that full knowing that might happen to some people
Mhm.
because some people just like to joke weird.
Oh,
Some-
right.
Some
yeah,
people's
people are-
sense of humor is just completely different from mine, and I get that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But this is no longer a topic that we can.
Take lightly by any means. I mean, never should have, but
No, but because here's the thing. You know what I would love to see at the end of this year? I would love for the first time in 2023 to see that the number of sexually exploited children go down.
Mm,
I would love to see a generation not grow up being scarred. That's what I would love to see.
yeah.
I don't know exactly what I can do to help that, but dang it all if I'm not thinking on that.
Hmm.
Yeah, sorry. I know that was a little.
No. I was just trying to think of, I don't know. Yeah, I guess besides exposing that, like, stories of this happening. I mean,
I don't know
what
yet.
do you do?
I don't know yet except pray. That's all I know for sure for right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Beyond that, I don't know.
No.
And that might take a while to find out what that is. But this is one of those things that has to stop. And you know what's sad? And I know this happens all over the world.
Mhm. Oh, it's probably far worse in other places
Yeah,
than it is here.
I get it. You know, some people go, "Well, you can't fix the whole world." Yeah, but I can fix my backyard.
That's where you gotta start.
Because once my backyard is fixed, I can worry about the neighbor across the street. If my own backyard is not fixed, my own house is not in order, then how the heck am I gonna be able to help someone else?
Nope.
And obviously, by house and yard, I mean state,
Yes.
country.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. You can't.
So yeah, this is I know not a nice, exciting, happy episode hearing about how Candace royally screws over people, but I mean, it
You can't always have fun and fluffy.
it was an important news story of the time, and
Absolutely.
it is something that is going to be culturally significant for a while because this this is going to play out in the news and it's going to play out in the courts for a while. How long that is, I don't know,
Mhm.
but it will play out for a while.
What was, like, the latest thing on the kids as far as to where they're at?
They because they're kids, they're minors.
Yeah.
They're not going to give much information out.
So they won't I mean, do they just go
They're probably going to
back
go.
to an orphanage
They're probably going
thing
to go
or
back into foster care system.
foster care? Okay.
The next time that the two will be in trial, with in front of a judge will be February 1st. So that's coming up in the next trial motion for
I mean,
things to
that's
happen.
next Wednesday.
Yep. And they're gonna and they did say that they're gonna try to get them to essentially provide testimony against each other.
Testimony against the 2 guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they did reveal in the article that that is, but by doing that, they're gonna give them like some limited immunity to be able to testify against each other. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But this is something that's gonna be I'm gonna be watching
Yeah,
as this unfolds.
yeah. Because depending on what the system does with them, depends on how much kinda shows on how much we really care what happens anyways.
Right. So 9 consecutive life sentences. I mean, to be honest,
I mean, what's the point? They're in there till death.
yeah.
In a sense, it is a death penalty.
And I'll be honest here. Part of me, and it's the sick, demented part of me, I know, and I
Mm.
understand this, is like, good. Do not give them the death sentence. Let them slowly decay over time.
Eh,
Because here's the thing:
what's the thing?
in jail,
Yeah,
the lowest of the low are
pedophiles or the child rapists and stuff like that.
yes,
Yep.
they are lowest of the low, even in jail. Even in jail, they have like an honor, not honor, but like a code, a system. So that's what I said. Part of me says, just let them go,
I mean,
and
that's
that's the mean part of me.
nah. I guess I would say differently
Okay,
as the point of I mean, in a sense, that's being merciful to them with if they just got the death penalty and they didn't have much longer to go. Well, and this is where the whole churchy side comes out of me. Cuz it's yes, punishment is definitely deserved.
right,
100%. And you know, for us, like, this sort of crime is horrendous and I mean, people love to see terrible punishments done to people like this, which I am totally guilty of. And yeah, would hope that they, in a sense, get what they deserve. But then at the same time, there is, I guess, I mean, I was gonna ask for the names of the kids too. But these are definitely people that we should be praying for.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, and as far as me saying like them at least living their time out here and then still and not just being sentenced to death right away. I mean, obviously, I don't know what can happen in their lives. There's the whole thing of where it's just like, oh, they're hopeless and whatnot, which maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know. But if they got the death penalty, well, then there's no hope for them after that, as far as repentance and whatnot, and even having that opportunity.
Right.
Because I mean, and that's I have to remind myself a lot. I mean, you look at Paul in the Bible was literally killing people left and right, the Christians specifically. And yet he was still chosen to totally flip and live the rest of his life honoring God. Obviously, so can that happen here? Sure. That would be awesome. But obviously there's not high hopes for that. But that's again where prayer has to come in. And that was the one and I had said earlier that it was the one thing that like I guess like kind of stood out to me was I mean saying like we just need someone to like not hate us right now or whatnot. I'm like, dude, you've done something that royally pisses us off.
Yep.
And I guess the only thing that can change a person's outlook on you is where you go from here. Are you actually sorry for what you've done? And do you repent and from that and change from here on out? That's the only way. That's the only way you're gonna have any sort of love I can imagine for you from anyone if something like that happens. And that's as far as I'm concerned, that's the whole forgiving side of me or wanting to be forgiving side of me to be like,
It's hard to remind myself of that in this
it
case.
is. Yeah.
It really is.
It did not happen right away for me. At first I was like, you guys are pathetic, which I mean, yes, it is. There's almost no words for what they did.
Mhm.
But yeah, that thought process did not come right away. I will say that. And that's where I say, like, I am guilty as the next guy where it's like, I hope the worst thing happens to you.
I will be forthright and admit, I'm still not 100% there, even though I know I should be.
Yeah. It's
And I think that's personally because I'm just enraged by it.
oh yeah. It's sin the level of what they did is like, yeah, again, it's
I mean,
horrendous.
there's sin that I know I have engaged in personally.
Mhm.
And I know it's like, oh, don't go try to comparisons, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, when you do it against someone like that, I can't help but I can't help but do that. It is hard for me to do that. Because personally, people abuse should I want to see them rot.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, this is again where you cut me off before you let me finish everything.
It's just my thing for today.
Fine. That's fine. But at the same time, I have to remember that, as much as it's weird to say that, in God's eye, my sin is just as bad in a sense.
Mhm.
In the fact that it is sin.
Yes.
Any sin, no matter how minor we may perceive it,
Mhm.
no matter how major we may perceive it, any sin is sin that essentially separates us from God.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if I just lie or I murder someone. It's going to separate us, And guess what? No one is outside that saving grace. And I have to remind myself of that.
Mhm.
Because guess what that means? That means even these two people.
Yep.
Because as much as I don't want to say it, these two people were made in the image of God as well. They have inherent value just because of that. And as ugly of a thing as they have done, they can still come to repentance.
Yep.
Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know.
Nope.
And I have to remember that's not for me to know. The part of me that wants the pure justice wants to rage on about it, but the other part says, God reach them. And it's a very weird spot to be at to say that, you know?
Oh yeah, because I mean,
how do you explain to someone, yeah, I'm praying for a child molester?
yeah. Excuse me, what?
That phrase is a weird one to say.
And that's where, yeah, a lot of people are like, what is wrong with you? Well,
But you never know.
yeah, you don't.
I mean, okay, look at someone like Christopher Yuan, okay? Now, he didn't do anything like child molestation or anything like that, okay? But he had a ton of drugs he was selling.
Hmm.
I think he was arrested, what they say, 15 tons or something like that.
Woo!
The equivalent of 15 tons of drugs when he was arrested. You know,
That's just a little
for
bit.
distribution.
Yeah, that's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Goodness.
You know, he definitely was not, you know, you would look at it and be like, man, he was dealing drugs. He was selling drugs, people getting them hooked on stuff. A lot of people would probably just dismiss him right then and there because of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But then he happens to find a Bible while he's in jail. He reads it. He starts reading it. He becomes convicted. He becomes a Christian. And now he's one of the leading speakers out there in the world talking about, you know, his experience.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Because not only, you know, because, you know, he used to be what's he? Yeah, because he was in school for dentistry, got kicked out. And he even said in his testimony things that he was dealing drugs to his professors at the dental college.
Well, all those guys need to get investigated now.
And, you know, he has HIV. He used to be hooking up with a bunch of guys before, you know, and now he's going around talking like, hey, you don't have to do that. He wrote the book Holy Sexuality, which if you haven't read it, really good book, would recommend it for anyone out there. And and just so you know, his premise isn't, because his premise of the book isn't talking about, you know, hey, are you gay? Are you straight? What are you? What?
Yeah.
It's be holy because I'm holy. In other words, God's saying that, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, how do you do that with your sexuality if you're single or married? Well,
cool.
He goes celibacy and singleness, faithfulness and marriage. That's the thesis of the book.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and he's like, okay, here's how it is. Boop, 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 boop. And like I said, it's not an easy book to read. It is a really long book.
Oh.
Yeah, it's definitely a larger book. It's definitely a good one. If you're more in for like a story type book, maybe go for his first book that he wrote with his mother, Out of a Far Country. That he wrote with his mother, and essentially they go back and forth. Like he'll write one chapter, and then his mother will write the other chapter, and basically they're telling the same story of how Christopher came to Christ, but from both of their perspective.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
That's kind of cool.
Holy Sexuality in the Gospel, that's 256 pages. Out of a Far Country, it's 240 pages.
Ugh.
It goes way fast. Someone that most people would just ignore because he was a drug dealer.
Right. Never know.
It's really one of those things of like, and I have to pull my selfish pride out of that and saying, no, just rot.
Right. Right.
Or let your head roll.
Yeah. As
And I got
much as the flesh wouldn't mind seeing it.
Yeah. So that's my challenge with this whole thing. Is just remember that going forward. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Any final comments, Aaron?
I don't know why this old phrase just came into my head, but the whole spread the word to end the word. Except this isn't a word, this is a action. Yeah, spread awareness of it. And as Paul has said earlier, the whole thing of if you have a like concern or like there's like a hint of something might be off, don't be afraid to address it with something especially this serious. And for any I guess Christians that might be listening to this, I guess I would ask that we be in prayer for both the well, all parties involved, I suppose, for the people on trial and just the kids for their future and growing up. Just pray that there's, especially for the kids, that they will be able to find a good home after this. That's about all I got.